I'll start first with Sean McDermott, head coach of the Buffalo Bills. And a little delayed joining us with good reason as well, Sean, because you just spent an hour or so talking with your local media. There's a lot to talk about with your teams and in your communities, so we appreciate you hopping on with us. Everything that has happened in our country around the events in Minneapolis some 10 days ago have impacted every community. It was a them problem, it's an us problem, it's a U.S. problem, a world problem right now. How have you gone about directly addressing this with your teammates who are certainly feeling some pain?
Well, we wanted to approach it head on, Mike, and so we addressed it Monday. We addressed it in our team meeting, and our ownership came out with a statement a little bit later that afternoon, and so we just feel like communication is and over communication is of the utmost importance during times like these, and we also want to listen and make ourselves available to our players as well.
Keep asking coaches about their players, but this is an age group, and you've seen this throughout your life, where as part of teams, African Americans, other minorities feel like they are not represented properly, voices are not heard. How did it make you feel when you saw the Floyd video from Minneapolis?
Yeah, very disturbing video, to say the least. Very disappointed, overall ashamed, to be honest with you. It's listen. I just nothing more that I want than for our country to come together. We certainly have enough challenges in front of us, and in our world today, and so I'd love to see our country and our world come together as one team, and really unify.
So what do you do as a coach? You want to lead, you want to have the right words, but you also want your players to be the ones whose voices are heard. What are some of the specifics you've tried to do in that listening process virtually over the last couple of days?
Well, Mike, I think it's important to note that it hasn't been just me. I've certainly made myself available, and made sure that all of our players, because of where we are in our process in the NFL, some of our players are new, in particular, have not been into our building because of the COVID-19 situation. But I've tried to make sure that they all understand and are aware that we have a social justice initiative, and that resource is available to all of them, as well as our coaches and staff, support staff in particular, have done a tremendous job of giving the players the floor to discuss this openly in the position meeting rooms where football talk, scheme talk normally goes on. We've given the players, hopefully, the space and the platform to communicate openly.
We put up a picture there, Sean, with the saying on it, "Family trains together," that the Bills put out on their social media platforms back on May 30, a few days back. And it was workouts that Josh Allen has tried to lead down in Florida. We hear about quarterbacks and trips and leading and all that stuff. That's such an important element to all of this. Will your players who are in those positions take the leadership roles? What has been your vision of what Josh Allen has tried to lead in this time when you can't all be together for OTAs and different events like that in the facility?
Yeah, well, listen, as we know, Mike, playing on the field and playing well on the field is important. A big piece of that position is the inherent understanding of that position is a leadership position as well. And so Josh has taken a huge step this offseason, just in that example alone, where that's a heavy lift in these days and times to get everyone or that number of guys together. In Florida, Josh being on the West Coast, as well as some of our other quarterbacks, and getting a group of guys together, most of whom were offensive players, but to my knowledge, there were a few defensive players there as well. So, and listen, I think it's also a great example when you look at that picture of to me a snapshot of what America should be about. I mean, guys, together, showing their love and support for one another, and working together towards a common purpose.
That's what struck me, and it'll be interesting to see how those conversations manifest in change, in impact, not just the National Football League, but in all of sports as sports starts to come back, because the conversation's a little more open because of that commonality that you mentioned. Let's talk about your team, because here you are in the playoffs last year, a disappointing end to that, but real growth steps for this organization. Now, obviously, Tom Brady's not in New England, and immediately everyone wants to anoint your group as, hey, maybe the Bills are the team to beat in the AFC East. So how do you manage those expectations given this very unnerving, unsettled, and unknown offseason that we're all trying to work our way through right now?
Yeah, Mike, I've heard that before. I've been on the other side of that, of those expectations, and I've been on this side. So, as we both know, you don't win games this time of year. You're not going to get a tick in the win column this time of year. In Buffalo, what we've tried to do is create a culture whereby we understand that we've got to earn things, and that's no different from where we were 3 years ago when we first got here, when people weren't expecting a whole lot from us. In fact, they were probably expecting this to continue to be the way it was. And our players have done a really good job embracing that mindset of having to earn everything. And we expect to continue with that this season, in terms of there's a lot of runway in front of us. We've got a lot of work to do. And again, just it starts with the understanding that that games aren't won on paper, and so we've got to come together as a team, and in this case, find a way to come together as a team through the virtual off season, and put our best foot forward. But there's a lot of time between now and that first game where we've got to work our butts off to get there.
The league mentioned yesterday in a memo that the teams will not be able to leave their facilities for training camp, obviously given all the focus on COVID-19 and trying to make sure that the practices that are in place for the whole season are ones that will apply when the rosters are larger in the preseason. That's particularly tough for your area because for the last 20 years, I guess it is, the Buffalo Bills have gone down I-90, gone down the thruway to Rochester, and have an unbelievable following. A bunch of those fans make the trip back to Western New York every single Bills Sunday for football. That's a big part of your fan base. What's your reaction to not having that part of this as part of your preseason this year?
Yeah, I'm disappointed. Obviously, I understand. It is special going to training camp in Rochester, Mike, as you know, and one of the cool parts about it is I'll be driving my truck up or back from camp, and lo and behold, there's a fan or two that are driving next to me and beep the horn and wave and say, "Hey, coach," and which I think that's part of the special intimacy of the relationship that we have in Buffalo with our fans. So we'll miss that, of course, but certainly understand, as I alluded to earlier, that based on these days and times, that the NFL, and I appreciate their planning and the forethought that's gone into this to get out in front of it and make sure that clubs in this case understand with great clarity what's expected moving forward from a planning standpoint.
Is that picture off to your left shoulder, is that you from William and Mary, that number 28 on the wall there?
It is. Yeah, it is. That's when I had hair. That's I don't know if you have a picture, Mike, from when maybe you had hair, but that is from when I had hair, and I was a little bit younger back then. Yeah, so
hang on. Let me rummage through back here. There's some pictures up here. You know what, Sean? We talked about Tom Brady. Every time Tom Brady's draft anniversary comes up, they run that clip, and I was on the air with Mel Kiper, and I get that clip. Hey, look at this. You were on when Tom Brady got drafted. Hey, you had hair. Yeah, we did. But I point that out only because you're on that team. Mike Tomlin's a teammate, and Dan Quinn was a grad assistant at that time at William & Mary. Is that right?
Yeah, all three of us were on the same on the same team. For a school like William & Mary, pretty cool to be able to say that, and great recognition for our college there. So yeah, it was with Dan Quinn, you didn't, and I know you didn't ask, but I'm going to say it anyway. It didn't take long to notice that he was different than as GAs and quality controls come through. They kind of work through them a few at a time. It seems like they're in and out, and before you knew it, they're gone. But Dan was different, and so early on, you could tell, even for me as a college player, that he was going to have a bright future in this league.
That's pretty cool. Your team those players are very fortunate to have you as their coach. I've been around you. I've talked to players who have played for you. They love the way you lead. It's a time of leadership and listening and empowering your players, and that's the culture you and Brandon have built up there in Buffalo. And I know in these difficult times, they're in good stead. Great to catch up. Best to your family, and we'll visit over the summer here for sure.
Sounds good, Mike. Thanks. Always good to be with you as well.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.